I heard maybe from you that retinol thins the skin, but a lot of other research has suggested that it thickens the skin. So, what is true and why is there this conflicting info?
So vitamin A is necessary for the function of cells, but the prescription form, it's so much higher than what your skin is getting normally. And so the skin responds to Retin-A in a very exaggerated way. It's never seen so much Retin-A in its life. So it goes crazy. Literally, that's the scientific term. And it goes crazy for almost a year. It starts restructuring itself to deal with the vitamin A super dose. And during that time, 6 months in, 8 months in, 10 months in, you'll see thickening. And then skin adapts, skin changes, skin becomes thinner. Both the epidermis and the dermis actually thin after a year. And so depending on whether you measure the skin at 6 months, when it's going crazy and reacting to this massive dose of vitamin A, or you measure after it's made its response, then you get a thinning effect.
Okay, two questions. My first question is if you only use Retin-A for 6 months and then stop, do you get to reap the benefits of the thickening and not experience that later thinning that would occur? And then when you say it's compacted or thinning, does it go back to normal or does it go thinner than it was ever?
The only thing the Retin-A has been shown to be good for is reducing fine lines. And you can imagine how that could be associated with a thickening of the skin, right? Now, we know that upon stopping Retin-A after 6 months, you start to see a reduction in the improvement, which was very modest to start with. It was 0.5 point on a 10-point scale. You stop using it, that improvement goes away. Not all in 1 week or a month, but it starts to ebb away.
Really? Okay. So Retin-A doesn't increase collagen.
Yes, it does. During its crazy phase, right? When it's remodeling, one of the things the skin does to remodel is it makes collagen. And so you'll see a collagen increase if you measure 3 months in, 4 months in. But that increase is completely gone after a year.
So clarify when you say like these things are gone, or how can you not benefit from that even short-term increase of collagen?
People think of collagen as a commodity. More collagen, it's like more money.
Right.
It's always better. But if you think of collagen as a 2x4, is it better to have more 2x4s or fewer 2x4s? Well, it depends on the structure that they're making.
Yeah.
And so when the skin is responding to the vitamin A and it's making more 2x4s in an unnatural structure, is that a good thing? I would say no. But even that temporary collagen 2x4 structure, after a year, the skin has disassembled that structure and it's no longer there. Now, I would suspect that you could not find a single dermatologist in 100 that could explain this. Not one.
Are there studies that show this drop off of benefits? There are. Okay.
Absolutely. This has been published. The collagen increase was published in the New England Journal of Medicine. It was so amazing. New England Journal of Medicine. And then the scientists thought, oh, if we saw an increase at 3 months, we'll see a greater increase at a year. And then they looked, and actually, not only was that increase that they saw at 3 months gone, but there's actually now a decrease.
So why do you think Retin-A affects the fat cells?
That's a really good question. I think there are two elements to this. One is if you take fat cells and you expose them to the smallest quantities of Retin-A, picomolar, new fat cells will stop forming.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. So the other mechanism by which Retin-A is definitely having an effect on new fat cell formation, and that's inflammation. So we know that Retin-A, the prescription version, will inflame the skin. It causes a dose-dependent increase in inflammation. And inflammation of any kind will prevent new fat cells from forming. Wow. So there's one guy, I always forget his name, but he's a great scientist out in California, and he discovered that the anti-acne mechanism by which Retin-A works involves immature fat cells. And specifically, Retin-A prevents immature fat cells from converting to mature cells. And when they're immature, they make an antimicrobial peptide, cathelicidin, that controls acne. And he showed that this is true in mice. So you can apply the Retin-A topically, and you can show this arrest of immature fat cells maturing. And he showed that this was also true in human beings. So they took biopsies of human skin, and the same mechanism was in play.
So if you are a long-term retinol user or Retin-A user, any of its derivatives, you're going to experience some kind of fat loss.
I'm not sure, because if the fat loss is really associated more with the inflammation than with a specific inhibition of Retin-A on fat cell formation, then you would only really experience it on the higher strength prescription products, because those are really creating an inflammatory response. The very low strength retinols are not creating that inflammation.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
So you would say that if we are going to use, we should be using a retinol instead of a Retin-A.
Yeah, I mean, definitely it will cause less damage. The question is, does it do any good, right?
Yeah, sure.
So remember
the question.
Yeah, does it do any good? And that I'm not sure, right? So if the Retin-A, the prescription strength, only improved fine lines by half a point on a 10-point scale, and we know this effect was dose dependent, right? And then you take a weaker form, will you get any improvement at all?
Right.
And I think that the jury is out. We could cover that in a separate video, because I think that deserves its own attention.
I agree. I sent you a before and after of a woman on a subreddit thread with her very impressive tretinoin. I think it was a 0.25 she was using. She was 6 months in, and the before and after were pretty remarkable. Like her skin had tightened, the lines were gone.
I'm not surprised, because that's the crazy phase, right? 6 months, you're like deep into that crazy phase where the skin is remodeling, the epidermis is thickening, it's building all of this like structure that the skin normally doesn't have. And so, yeah, you could see an improvement. Yeah.
And so the jury's still out whether she just stopped there would.
No, if she stopped, the benefit would start to recede. We know that, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Based on what you just told me, there really isn't a strong reason to be incorporating this ingredient into your skincare routine.
No. And really the common sense question that you always have to ask is there a vitamin A deficiency in the skin, right? If you're going to put something in, it's because it's missing. Sure. And I'm not like a big ChatGPT user, but it's really cool. Actually, even ChatGPT confirms that Retin-A initially thickens the skin and then thins the skin, which I was surprised. But ChatGPT is on top of it. And then the other thing I asked ChatGPT, I said, is there a vitamin A deficiency in the US population? And it said that like 13% or 17% of the US population has a vitamin A deficiency. And these are young children, pregnant women, and people without enough food to eat. Right? The people who are buying vitamin A creams, I would argue, do not have a vitamin A deficiency.
Okay, I have two final questions. Another thing I hear with Retin-A and retinol is that it increases cell turnover. This is something that's said all the time. Can you speak to that and if it is beneficial for us in our skin?
Yeah, at the end of the day, the proof is in the pudding, right? We know that even this proliferation of keratinocytes that you see with Retin-A in the initial stages, at the end of the day, you still end up with thinner skin. So no, it's not beneficial. One thing that Retin-A is really good at, is ridding your skin of melanin, right? So you have melanin that's extracellular. And because you have this cell turnover, you have all these cells sort of pushing their way up and out and up and out. After a year of Retin-A, you have an 80% reduction in melanin.
Is this
right?
published?
Absolutely. Yeah, 80%. And the funny thing is, you ask, is it published? No one has ever commented on this, right? For most people, a massive reduction in melanin is probably not good because melanin is one of the elements that protects our skin from sun damage, right? Now, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, please, I know sometimes things that I say are taken too seriously.
Yeah.
Let's say you have a melasma situation, right? Where you had some inflammation. Maybe you use Retin-A for a few months. You have this hyperproliferation. You have this craziness turnover. It gets rid of some melanin. Who knows? Maybe you might be better off. And then acne, right? Yeah. So, but temporary. This is my new thing, Paige.
Yeah.
I'm now an opponent of regular use of skincare products.
Interesting. I thought that was the whole thing with skincare products is you need to use them for a long period of time to see results.
That's true, right? That's true. But people use skincare products like toothpaste and deodorant, right? Like every day, right?
Yeah.
we can't like skip a day. But we have to really now think about topicals as like, think about your diet, right? Like there's some days when we have
diversity,
fiber-rich meals, and it's like, all right, we need a certain amount of fiber, we need a certain amount of sauerkraut and stuff like that, right? But we wouldn't eat sauerkraut every day. Like, fatty fish, people always say eat fatty fish. You don't eat fatty fish for every meal, right?
So this is a case for cycling out products, switching it up.
Use as needed, right? Let's just call it use as needed.
Well, what about a product like your own? Don't you have to be very consistent with that and use that?
Well, I don't talk about my product. I mean, we always tell people, use it, get the results that you want, right? And then step back.
Okay. So my final question is, why is this information not getting out there? Why are dermatologists not privy to this information? If this is all published, why is this information either being ignored, suppressed, or just completely overlooked?
I think it's because no one wants to be the only dermatologist that says, look, we've got it all wrong. The stuff was out there, 1990s, 2000s. We never bothered to look. We got it all wrong. No one wants to be that person because then everyone else turns against them and says, you don't understand, blah, blah, blah. No one wants to take on that weight.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, so I guess I should throw my TRET in the trash.
Yeah.
So this is music to my ears. Like, I don't think I've ever used TRET or any retinol product consistently. I'm like, oh, I'll use it one night and then forget about it. And then I might,
I think that saved you.
And that goes for everything. Like every single product I ever use, I've never used it every day.
I'm not saying you don't have to be disciplined. I'm saying think about it as a diet, right? Your skin diet can have some diversity in it. It can have some pauses in it. You don't need to stuff your skin just like you don't need to stuff your face.
Less is more.
Less is more.
I mean, people don't like to hear that, but less is more.
Yeah.
I think we covered everything, and I think it was pretty clear.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I mean, I think that in this conversation format, it's just things are become much more understandable. Awesome. Great to see you. Thank you.
So good to see you. We'll chat soon.
Okay. Bye, Paige.
Bye.